Do you trust your crypto assets to centralized exchanges that actively sell your private information and front run your trades? Would you like to buy and sell your assets without any middlemen, intermediaries, or robots? Do you like paying slippage, fees, and having the price go up as bots steal from you on low liquidity decentralized exchanges? The solution is nodemarket.io. Set your guaranteed buy or sell price. No middlemen, no slippage, no bots, ever. Buy or sell 1, 10, or even 10 million tokens, and you never have to worry. OTC trades are between you and the seller or buyer, guaranteed by audited smart contracts and no human middlemen. Nodemarket.io.
All right. Let's see. We got all our buttons. Oh, my chair's all messed up because I have a piece of crap chair because Brandon keeps 20 of them and he won't give anybody else his chairs because he's chair greedy. He's going to have enough chairs that he could put everybody in his family 100 years from now when they're all dead and buried, he could put them in his gaming chairs and no one else would ever get to sit in them. He probably keeps plastic on them. He probably keeps plastic. Do you know those people that have like a whole living room and there's plastic on their chairs? You're like, Jesus, man, serial killers. Anyway, that's Brandon with his gaming chairs that he gets for free. And we have to use ones we get on eBay that suck. And then the hydraulic thing lasts for like 13 seconds. And that piece of crap breaks. And then your chair just goes, and it's done. It's got good lower back support though. Anyway, yep, that's it. That's my rant. That's all you get today. Crap, where was I? Okay, good morning. It's Halloween. I got in my car, it's an electric one because I have an electric car because I care about the environment. And it had like leaves falling and my little avatar, because you get an avatar when you have an electric car. It had fangs and a Dracula cape and the eyes were glowing and had all sorts of Halloween crap all over it. That's pretty cool inside a car. So I thought it's like, and then of course, because it's real, it's got to take credit for everything. It's like, what do you think about my holiday? Shut up. Like if you have to ask about it, it's not cool anymore. Anyway, but I liked it. Let's see. Yeah, I can't give anybody here. You guys realize this, right? There's no investment advice. Lisa, your question's tantamount to investment advice, and I don't do that. I barely do it for the digital private clients, and they're all accredited. So I definitely don't do it publicly. And also you got to do whatever feels right for you. Asking people for financial advice is definitely, that means that you should not do anything with the money, because if you're asking people for financial advice, you don't yet have the competency to spend whatever money you were thinking about. So the answer is, if you're asking for what to do with your money, well, the answer is don't do anything, because you're not there yet. Hello. Happy holidays. Hello. Well, kind of holiday. I don't know. It's kind of a holiday. Let's see. Boo. Yes. Hello. All right. So as you know, today is the last day. Where do you buy treat or treat? So where that is, I'll explain what it is real quick, and we won't be too long on it. it is if you get 2 of the node market NFTs. No, don't worry, Lisa. You're not a dumbass. 90% of America asks what they should do with their money. You've been raised in a system where everyone asks everyone else, because there's a whole financial system that preys off of people that's designed to make everyone think they're stupid and that they can't do this on their own. That's the whole point of their system. And I say their system because I was in their system until about 2014, and I got out of their system. So anyway, okay. So the way it works is if you get 2 of the node market NFTs, we're going to give you a 2-node bundle of Hypercycle node licenses. They're separate. They do different things. The Hypercycle node licenses are to participate in the Hypercycle ecosystem, right? And make currency units and do all that. The node market NFTs support node market, and it gets you, but how you get to it is you just go to node market, and then look, there's a mint button. If you go to node market, there is a mint button. If you go this way, there's also, you can say, all right, go to the exchange or whatever, but at the top of the screen, look, mint, yay. You just click on mint, and look, there they are. Woo, 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 woo. They spin around. You will also see, for those of you that haven't done a walkthrough, you ought to just go bang around on it. It's pretty cool, but you can go to regular node market. If you have Hypercycle license questions, like you want to buy a license and do all that kind of normal stuff, you just go click buy node licenses, and it takes you to all of the options to purchase Hypercycle node licenses. Where it says explore nodes, that's not active yet because that's going to be the secondary marketplace for node licenses. For those of you that run Hypercycle, you're going to be participating in Hypercycle. We're going to have a full built out portfolio where you can have your portfolio, you can monitor your nodes in production as they're doing stuff, but you can also sell them like a business or buy them if you wanted to buy someone else's. You might be a few years in and you've collected some splits and your node licenses are earning X amount per year. And you're like, well, that's a business. I might want to sell that, or I might, whatever. Anyway, you'll have full dexterity to manage your entire portfolio there. So that's kind of cool. And we're going to be putting in all sorts of features where you will eventually be able to manage all of your NFT assets, because NFTs are going to be, they're not going to be monkey JPEGs forever. They're going to become a lot more focused on utility moving forward. Our specific token is a utility token that does a couple of things. One, you'll notice on the little bannery thing. Where's my banner? So one of the things that it says here, let me move here, is that you would get, there's a twin allocation. So twin tokens are coming. When the twin, on day 1, we will have a special, so, normally there's all the launch pad crap and you got to go over and get your ass kicked in the dexes as you fight for these tokens. The token holders will get allocation of twin tokens. So the way it will work is, this will actually answer about 24 emails. The way it will work is, on day 1, when the launch happens, we will have an allocation of tokens that is for holders of the node NFT, this thing. Okay. If you hold this thing, we'll take all the people, let's say, just to keep it clear in your brain, there's 100 people that own the token. There's 100 tokens. Just pretend we sold 100 tokens. Different people might own different amounts, but there's 100 tokens. And they give us 100,000 twin tokens. Then each one of these tokens would give you the right to buy 1,000 tokens, right? 100 NFTs, 100,000 tokens. That's 1,000 per NFT. Does that make sense? Okay, hopefully that does. So if you owned 10, you have the right, but not the obligation. You have the option to buy 10,000 twin tokens. Does that make sense? Yay. My guess is it will be less than the dexes, but you never know. Like on day 1, usually the prices do all sorts of crazy stuff. This will be fixed price. There won't be a floating price. You won't get dex effed. There's all sorts of other ways I could have said that, but I'm trying to clean up my language. You won't get dex effed. There won't be any slippage. It'll be the same thing. That's why we built the tools in the way that we built them. Can you sell your option? Well, you'd have to be the one buying the tokens for the person. Well, you could sell your token. Sure. Brian, if you got your, I mean, I guess you could do whatever you want on the side. You could like tell someone, hey, do you want, I would mess with all that. I would probably get the token. And if it's more expensive on the dexes, just go flip it on the dexes. You're going to do it anyway. It's not like I'm letting you in on a secret. Anyway, there's that. So that will get you access. That will, but you have to have the token. Period, full stop. That's the rule. We're going to be doing this throughout the years coming, is that the token is going to have more utility than just the revenue share, which it also has. Ooh, fexed. Well played. It's like Dex effed. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, so that's what that does. There's also some other announcements we're going to make as to the way that we're going to be distributing revenue to the token holders, because the node market NFT is for people that want to participate in the revenue the exchange generates. And so we will have some more to say about that, but not right now. This is not the time for that. Probably in about a week or two, because we have to do some plumbing. But it would be to your liking. I'll put it that way. It will be to your liking. All right. Do you need USDC? Well, Anthony, as you read across the bottom of the screen, what do you see in white? Here, I'll just go over it right here. USDC. Yay. Now, if you go to the exchange, you don't need to use USDC. You have choices. For instance, let's say I want to buy some. Ooh, yay. I want to get some. Let's see. That would be 8, 4, and 2. I want to fill an 8 node bundle. I go here. Woohoo. So they are electing, if I wanted to buy this one, that's in USDC. But people can price in Tether. People can also price in Ethereum. So you're having more stable options. Does that make sense? So you could do Ethereum, USDC. But for the license itself, that is, I'm sorry, license. For the node NFT, that is USDC. Yay. All right. If you go to the store, so we go here, I want to buy a hypercycle license. Then you say, okay, which one do I want to buy? I pick my 8 node license. I look at the details, and then I just follow through. I can add it to the cart. Once it's in the cart, I can go to the cart. I can click on it. Yay. View the cart. And this is how it works. See? Super easy. And then you just go check out. Woohoo. So that's pretty simple. So it's all, we're trying to make it where everybody can very comfortably bang their way around. And if you see things as you're using the exchange that don't make sense, then drop me an email and we'll talk about it. That's the whole point, is that this thing needs to feel very intuitive. The other thing that we're going to do, and then I'll get off of this, is that we are going to create a twin, right? Twin Protocol is developing a twin that's going to be like an avatar assistant when you're on the exchange. So let's say you get on here and you have questions and things don't quite make sense. You'll be able to talk with the avatar and it will be able to take you to the right place, explain things. It'll just be one more layer of dummy proofness. And I say dummy because we're all dummies if there's just information we don't have that could affect our pocketbooks, right? So always endeavor to be smarter. Like today, we're going to talk about the Phillips Curve. Is it pure genius or pure bull crapness? I don't know. We'll have to find that out. All right. Anyway. Okay. Let's see. Will we need USDC to buy the twin token? I think we will do that in USDT, USDC, or I'll have to ask Brandon about that, but probably USDC. I'm trying to urge people to hold USDC more than USDT. At some point, USDT Tether is going to be audited. You guys realize this. This will happen as the world starts to absorb, because what the whole world's not going to convert over to adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet if it's propped up by a bullshit stablecoin that's never been successfully audited, that absolutely 100,000% does not have dollar for dollar backing. Like it is very clear. It's beyond discussion. They do not have the money they say. But you know what? Either does the US government. At least with Tether, they've been running this confidence scam for years, and they've been using it to trade their funny money for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin and Ethereum have gone up so much that they probably do have the actual legitimate backing. It's just not in US dollars. Does that make sense? So their Ponzi scheme worked. Their confidence scam worked, unlike the one that the US runs. But in that one, they have warships and jackbooted thugs and missiles. So like, anyway, I would urge people, if you're holding a stable coin, Tether's not the one. So anyway, yeah. So Twin will probably, I don't know. That'll be a branding question, but it'll probably be USDC. That seems to be most of the orders that come across the exchange. If you go and you look at the people are mostly selling in terms of like what they're asking for is USDC. So like when you look at these OTC prices, most people, like if you go to the listings and you just go down and look, what are people asking for? USDC, USDC, USD. There's one Tether, USDC. I mean, it's pretty convincing. Even, and go look at let's see, go to exchange, go to last sales. And as you go through the last sales, what do you see? USDC, 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 pretty much all USDC. Well, there's a tiny Ethereum, but mostly it's pretty USDC dominant. Anyway, there we go. Okay. So I hope that answers that. Yay. If there's any other little questions, we can knock those out. But yeah, so that'll be on the day one. We will have twin tokens, but that will be for the token holders. Then we will also list the token, and anybody has the right to take their tokens and immediately relist them. So you might see that. You might see people buying, like taking their allocation. Well, you just look at the market, right? Just take your allocation and relist it. Done. And if the market goes up or down, you have, I mean, for that entire day, you can just decide whether you want to do it. So you don't have to pull the trigger the first second. You can wait. And if you see, so as a, for instance, let's say we had the tokens and they were 10 cents. I don't know what they're going to come out at, but I think they'll probably launch on the DEXs at 5 cents, which means they'll be 15 or 20 cents right off the bat, maybe more. If you see it there, if you see it at 20 cents on the DEX and you're at 10 cents here, you just buy it and sell it if you want to. Now, on the other side of it, sometime in December, as far as I understand, you're going to start being able to build your twin. And it will not cost you anything. You'll be able to start building your twin. You won't need tokens because obviously the token doesn't exist at this point. So you'll be able to start building your twin. That's going to be badass. You'll be able to start training it. You'll be training it a little bit each day. At some point, you may want to, because the tokens are how you continue to expand the dexterity of your twin. And this is your digital representation, but you also own the rights to it. So you can farm it out. Like those of you that do very specific things, you can farm your twin out. Like I'm even thinking of having a model. Once I get my twin, because we've been training mine, once I get it good enough where I would trust it for advice, we thought about farming out a model that people could have, like, just so that anybody knows, I try to avoid it, but I charge a lot for personal one-on-one sessions. I charge corporations $1,000 an hour, and I charge individuals $800 an hour. You might be like, that's ridiculous. Yes, I don't enjoy doing it. So if I'm going to do it, you're going to pay. And mostly I consult with like bankers, hedge fund people, people in and around finance that are trying to grapple with the crypto space. Anyway, that being said, I could create a little, my twin could be farmed out for like a yearly fee or a monthly fee, which would be much less than my hourly fee. And people might say, all right, I'm going to have the twin. I'll take the twin this year for the price of 1 hour. And then they would have the twin all the time. Anyway, there's all sorts of things you can do with your twin, including just uploading kind of your thought and your ideas and your consciousness and preserving that into this digital twin. So I'm pretty excited about where all that's going to go. Now, fun fact, the twin that's going to be on the exchange is Brandon's twin. So Brandon's going to start training his twin because he's one that knows all the technical stuff anyway, and I do not. So his twin will be the one that you'll be dealing with, screaming at, yelling at, cursing out for outrageous bad clothing choices, and also whatever. That'll be the twin for Node Market. So that'll be kind of cool. Anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, gas. I know. God, gas is stupid today. I guess someone's printing some old stupid NFT crap, and I say stupid because anytime they launch one of these dummy meme coin bullshitty projects, it screws. And this is how you know that Ethereum is a joke. That's the problem. Ethereum is the best thing going, and it is garbage. It is garbage, and it's probably, I don't want to say unfixable, but realistically unfixable for most of us. The fact that, I could tell you, I staked some tokens earlier today. I had some hypercycle tokens I was moving around. It was $21 for a transaction. I was like, Jesus, man, there's 21 tokens I just lit on fire. But it is what it is. Okay. Is there a minimum of twin tokens needed to get a basic twin operational? They haven't worked out all of the, or maybe they have and they haven't told me, of all of the pricing dynamics. But what it'll be, but in the beginning, no, you'll be able to build your twin absolutely free. Oh, also some cool information about, we're going to be doing a lot of twin stuff, but we're just not there yet. We're letting them develop a little bit further before we start kind of exposing that stuff publicly. The way it will work is you'll build your twin up to kind of like an MVT, minimally viable twin. Right? And once you get to that point, you'll be able to add dexterity and education sets, skill sets, and things like that to bring it up to speed to where you are and kind of fine tune and nuance it. Well, at that point, that's where the token will come into play. Also, as your twin is out in the world generating income, because there's going to start being opportunities for you to earn income with your twin, whether it's consulting, assisting, or whatever. So for those of you that want to do that, you may elect to get paid in that token or like stablecoin or whatever. But so there's going to be a whole kind of economy wrapped around that twin token. So that twin token is how you interact with your twin, how you train it, how you get paid and pay and do all sorts of kind of cool stuff. Anyway, there's a lot going on there. They're doing a lot of stuff. And that's a B2B play also. So we'll be saying a lot more. When they say more, we'll say more. But anyway, we'll do a lot of classes on twin. It'll be really fun. I've been slowly building mine, but I'm looking forward to more like really kind of like right now it's kind of basic. It does really cool stuff. It's badass, but I feel like it's still not me. Like it hasn't cursed one time, which I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if that's me. I would have cursed just then. So anyway, there. Whew. Twin is mostly B2B, which is something that I like. Can you do a summary of yesterday's call? Which call, Kenneth? You mean the call I had with the twin team in private? No. I can for private clients. I cannot in a public facing way. I am sorry. We are filling up for the private clients. Any of you that are here, we do have a second round, a private round for twin protocol that we're funding right now. So that may be, we may have that wrapped up by today. Anyway, today or tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, ETH is a joke. It's very frustrating. It's got first mover advantage. It's stuck. It's here. It's frustrating. It's slow. It's clunky. The Ethereum killer is Ethereum, unfortunately. I hope that we get some kind of teamwork going in the rest of the layer one ecosystem so that you have companies. Oh, Kenneth, that's easy. Just go watch the video. It's free, buddy. It's free. Just go. For everybody that doesn't know, yesterday's show was This Week in Hypercycle, but it was an hour long. But yeah, can I do a summary? No. Kenneth, you can go watch it. That's the summary. That's the beauty of recorded. It used to be like, can you record it? Yes, it's recorded. Cool. Can you video it? Yes, it's on video. Awesome. Now it's like, can you take the recorded video and then turn it into words? No, it's already in words. Get over there, Kenneth. Watch the video, buddy. So there you go. We kind of, the way I look at this whole ecosystem is you're going to have to see, yeah, you can do that, by the way. You can run it through ChatGPT and you can get it to summarize. There's tons of AI summary apps right now, like tons. It's very easy. So if you like to read stuff, then that might be a way to do it. When you, and I'll get to this in a second. When you look at the ecosystem right now of layer ones, there are many more competent layer ones with way lower price structures because they've figured that out than Ethereum. Ethereum has the fee paradox where the higher the price of Ethereum or the more activity in the network, the higher the fees go and everybody gets screwed. And that's just, it's mostly unfixable. They've claimed they've got it fixed over and over and over, but that's just not really likely. These other layer ones, Algorand, Cardano, Cosmos, have it solved. It's solved. It's done. We're past Ethereum. We're way past. We're at the 2 iterations past Ethereum, right? But it's getting people to use those other. Now, what's the main thing? It's going to be the wallets that you use. So if the wallets that you use are clunky and stupid, you're not going to switch over. And if the wallets that you use don't interact well with other protocols, it's going to be stupid. You're not going to do it. And right now, MetaMask is the dominant wallet. There are other wallets that are really cool. They look cool. They're very low fees and all that, but they don't interact with with enough other protocols. There needs to be an omnibus wallet that whenever you want to make a transaction, the wallet goes, this should be painfully flippin' simple. Not simple to, yes, it should be simple. Where you do all your transactions in a wallet, one single wallet. I want to go from this token to that, and it will look at all the options and do what is the cheapest and the fastest. I shouldn't choose what network. I shouldn't choose the fee structure. I shouldn't choose any of this shit. It should all be automatic, right? Like this is so, but if that was solved, then all of the opportunity that we see in the crypto space would not be here. None of this opportunity would be here. You know, Bitcoin would be 190K. Ethereum would probably be $16. XRP would be, $4 because people are stupid. Cardano would be $3 or $4 or $5. Yeah, you get it. Like none of these opportunities would be here if it was painfully obvious. So the fact that it's not gives us opportunity. Look at Arweave crushing. Anyway, so there's a lot of opportunity because this stuff has not been worked out yet. But what I expect should happen is that you start getting a little bit more of the teams working together type things. Not quite mergers, but definitely like more working relationships and partnerships between the Algorands, the Cardanos, the Cosmos, and such. So we'll have to see how that goes. Anyway, yeah. Do we have a clear when we marry tokens date? No, we don't, because they didn't get, and this was on the show yesterday, they got a clean sheet on the splitting, not a clean sheet I think they had a couple of little weird nomenclature capitalization things they have to do on the hyper share token, the 1155 token that allows you to do all sorts of other cool stuff that has underneath it the revenue and the wealth generation token. So until then, we don't have a final date. Yes, the 8-track tape is quite apropos for Ethereum. Who gets the fees? Which fees, Phil? Do you mean the Ethereum fees? Some of them are burnt and some of them go to the people supporting the network, the validators. If we're talking about Ethereum, that's proof of stake, meaning people that stake, that take their tokens and direct them towards validation pools, stake pool operators. They would take part of those fees and distribute those to the stakers. Yep. Okay, let's see. Are the 2 nodes for Halloween special part of the tilling that started through? Yes. All hypercycle node licenses are tilling until you've not only have the option to split your nodes, to marry the tokens, and to allocate them, but you've also had a grace period. So whenever this date comes, no one has to panic. Whenever the date comes that you can take your tokens, marry them into nodes, grab your 1155 token, your hypershare token, and either allocate that or run it on your own equipment, plus a grace period of about 30 days, all node licenses are tilling. All. At that point, after that grace period, then you got to make a decision. So every single node you get right now is going to have a history of, so they're all tilling. Everyone's tilling. Congrats. That's not forever, but it's definitely for now because they don't want to punish people as we wait for code audits and things like that. So it makes sense. Yay. So yes, but that Denny, that ends today. So tonight at midnight Pacific time, that is the end of the treat or treat. The little, I'm sad to see this image go. We will not be doing this next year. This cost me a small fortune. It was more successful than I had assumed it would be, and I will graciously eat it. Let's see. Yeah, 828. So there we go. So anyway, okay, let's switch gears now. I think we've hit the most of the kind of basic questions. We will be, by the way, bringing to the exchange, we will be bringing wrapped Bitcoin, WBTC. So that's kind of cool. In addition, any other AI assets that we find, as you guys know, if you look through the exchange now, you'll see some other tokens. Graph token, Singularity Net, Rejuve, Hypercycle, Ocean Protocol, Singularity Down, NewNet, Sophiaverse, Fetch. So we're starting to build out that portfolio of what we consider quality assets. And there are other stuff. There are other stuff. There's other tokens. Some people were asking, what about these? And what are the, if right now, this second, if they're not Ethereum-based tokens, we're not going to mess with it. In the future, that will change. We will expand. But right now, we want a minimally viable, easy to use platform. Does that make sense? Treat or treat. It's kind of fun to say because they're like, what? Treat or treat? Anyway, bam. Okay, let's switch gears. We got to talk about macro. We got to do some macroeconomics. Class is in session, as you guys know. That is what we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So let's get to that. Let me get rid of this banner. I've got a new one for you. Phillips Curve or maximum stupid. Yeah, I said it. Man, Jerry and I have gone back and well, not argued, like we agree. For those of you who don't know, Jerry Hall and I got started years ago, and this Phillips Curve, the quagmire that is the Phillips Curve. It'll make sense after I go through this why I refer to it as quagmire. It's because of the reliance on it, which is so silly. Let me see. Tufi stated the W token will be considered as, no. That depends on your jurisdiction. In some jurisdictions, W token, which can be issued from the hypershare token. Think of the hypershare token as a little business license. In some places, that would be considered a security. Different jurisdictions have different rules. And so it's just being set up where no one would get in trouble. And for those of you that live in a jurisdiction where, like, it's not illegal to have it, it might be against security laws to sell an unlicensed security unless you have gone through whatever steps. They're going to actually create the steps where you can click a button and fire up a company in a state, locality, municipality where you're doing everything legitimate. So they've already thought about all this stuff. So yeah. All right. And then finally, if you have an AI box that can run 2 nodes and you have that set up with tokens married, how does that attract a business and make money? Because Howard, and to all that are curious, when you have a node in the hypercycle ecosystem, the reason it needs compute power, hardware, hard drive space, and all that is because it's actually processing AI transactions and compute transactions for that global network. When Hypercycle, the company, has a business partner and they pay them money for compute, who do you think's doing that? Do you think Tufi's doing that on his laptop? No, bro. All of us are doing that. That's what the node licenses married with the tokens are. It makes you a little data center, right? It just takes the hardware to run that. So you're participating. Ideally, you would have everything. You'd have the computer, you'd have the area where you could run it, low electricity costs, you'd have the tokens, you'd have the node license, and you would do it all yourself. But they've created this ecosystem where you can have all or some or a few of the parts and you can still contribute. It's a lot. The mechanism design of this thing is massive. So you will be running compute transactions, which companies pay for, and you get paid a piece of that. Okay, if your company, if your nodes, if you have 2 nodes and they've split 10 times, anybody want to do the math on that? So let's say 5 to 7 years from now, your 2 nodes have split 10 times. You have 2,048 nodes. If you have 2,048 nodes, and I'm just going to throw a stupid number out there, earning $1 a day per node, what are you making? You're making 2,048 bucks a day. What is 2,048 bucks a day times 365? Anyone? Anyone? A shitload. It's a shitload. That's a business, right? You have a business that's doing what, almost $730,000, $740,000 a year. It's a business, bro. 750K. 750K. That's a business. That business has value. Like any other business has value. So yeah, bam, look at that. Nice one. $747,000. I don't know, man. That's a lot. Even if you say 10 cents a day, it's 74, almost $75,000. That has value. So these things, I urge you to think out on the horizon a little bit. Get out there a little bit. Get about 3 to 5 years out on the horizon. Let's see. Claims of economic growth comes inflation, which in turn should lead to more jobs and less unemployment. Yes. Well, let's get into it. Let's just get into it. I think we have arrived at the time for class. Let me do this. Let me go here. Let me go here. Let me go here. Let me go here and here.
Hello. You're late.
What the smoke?
You're bad at math, but I'm giving you an A+ in confidence.
Just doing what I gotta do.
Extra credit.
All right. Let's get into the guts a little bit. When you look at a kind of historical overview and then critiques on the Phillips curve, first, got to know what it is. And second, understand that most economists, the whole point of economics is to take all of these disparate details that look unconnected and bring them all together in a way. It's why charts and graphs look so easy. And it's a way to condense your thinking visually and otherwise. They want to reduce thinking, simplify. But things should be as simple as possible, but no simpler. The system that we live in is incredibly complex. Anyway, the Phillips curve is a concept in economics that presents an inverse relationship between inflation and unemployment, right? This was introduced by a guy named William Phillips. This was the late 1950s. And what the curve suggests is that as inflation rises, unemployment falls and vice versa, right? So as unemployment rises, inflation would fall and so on and so forth. And so go back to the 50s to get some historical context. In the late 50s, roll into the early 60s, you might think, oh, this is a lot was going on in the 50s and 60s, like the creation of the Eurodollar system. Yes, right? Like there's a lot that was going on. Robert Triffin was going around testifying about the dilemma in what governments can do to keep hegemony of their currency, to like have a world reserve currency. There was a lot of big economic thought going on in the 50s and 60s. Anyway, kind of empirical observations tended to, at that time, validate the Phillips curve idea. Economists and policymakers believed, and again, using a very small subset of information, they definitely put the blinders on, right? And like locked themselves into echo chambers. But they believed that they faced this trade-off, and that was accept higher inflation, and in return, you get lower unemployment, right? So, which is kind of a weird way of saying like higher inflation. Okay, so things cost more, but even though they cost more, unemployment is lower, so there's more people with jobs, right? So essentially, tolerate higher unemployment, and you get lower inflation. So if there's less people with jobs, there's still less inflation. This gets into the kind of this inflation cycle where it's assumed that people will assume and that things will act accordingly. Anyway, we'll get into it. So in the 70s, right, the Phillips curve did not look so good because things started to become more complex. You had new entrants into the workforce. And pretty much the 70s, it dismissed kind of the myth of the Phillips curve. It definitely challenged the validity of it. During this decade, you had a bunch of economies, especially the US, were experiencing what's like a stagflation type. Have you guys you've heard this term stagflation, and it's essentially an economic phenomenon where both inflation and unemployment are going up. You're like, wait a minute, they can't both go up, the left and the right side of the curve. It has to be an inverse relationship. No, it doesn't. Stagflation. Stagnant economy with inflation. So when both inflation and unemployment are jacked up and continue to go, and that's the trend, stagflation. And this contradicted, it kind of put to rest the whole idea of the Phillips curve model. So one might say, why are they still at the Fed using that to manage the economy right now, this second, in 2023? Yeah, that's a good question. That's a great question, because they're simple. And because most of the octogenarians, no offense, the people that were trained in classical economics, Keynesian economics at the Fed, when did they go to school? 60s or 70s. And even if they aren't that old, right, even if they're not in their 60s, which most of them are in their 60s through 80s, but even if they aren't, they were trained by economists who were trained classically in the 50s and 60s. So it's the same crap being fed. It's just their mama birding it. Their mama birding stupidity to the next group of central planners. Hopefully AI will solve a lot of this. But anyway, and this essentially the 70s and stagflation were just a huge red flag to the whole Phillips curve model. And economists like Milton Friedman, awesome by the way, and Edmund Phelps argued that the curve's simplicity doesn't account for people's expectations of inflation. And they proposed a kind of a modified version, which is the expectations augmented Phillips curve. And of course, economies are built on people making decisions. So when you kind of look at these things, there's three main critiques to the Phillips curve. oversimplification, historical irrelevance, right? And policy implications. Policy implications is what affects all of us right now, and oversimplification is what affects most of our central planners right now, which is why they're most always wrong. You can't manage an economy through rearview mirror. As it turns out, that is painfully insufficient. So if you look at oversimplification, essentially the original Phillips curve, it oversimplifies the relationship between inflation and unemployment. As it turns out, and you guys answer me in the comments, do you think that there's more going on in society than simply, are there more than two inputs other than inflation and unemployment numbers, which, by the way, they fake the shit out of the unemployment numbers. Those are super jury rigged, super rigged. It's like crazy. But anyway, even if they were accurate, even if the BLS wasn't just BS, there are more things in the economy than just inflation and unemployment. Other factors like productivity, labor market conditions, global economic factors, geographic issues, countries at war, all this stuff plays like very crucial roles in all of the technology, newer technologies, technological deflationary event. Like there's just so much going on. It's not so simple, right? Fraud, Ponzi, like all this scam, bank run, fraud chickens, Three Arrows, Capital, Celsius, Do Kwon, all these dirt bags. I mean, there's a lot going on. Anyway, let's talk historical irrelevance. The curves, Phillips curves, empirical breakdown in the 70s, it kind of showed all of us that, this whole idea was only relevant for a few years. Yeah, any idea, no matter how ridiculous it is, if you just look at a few years or a few months or a few days, it's like technical analysis. Yeah, if you find the right point in history in the past, it might look accurate. If you don't, stretch out your timeline to include more data, you can get anything to look. A broken watch, a broken wristwatch or pocket watch is correct twice a day for a whole minute. It is 100% accurate until it's not for the rest of the day. Anyway, so this broke down in the 70s, and it had a lot of people starting to question it. And again, in the short run, in very small doses, you go, oh, okay, I get it. Like inflation up, unemployment down because more people employed. And okay, great. Long term, very dubious. And so the problem is when you have, as these government regulators, a statistical oversimplification in their mindset with a product, with an idea that they use to steer the economy that has already been shown to be completely irrelevant historically, then you have bad policy implications. So if you rely solely on the Phillips curve, this is like, does anybody here think you can fly an airplane through the mountains with a blinker? This is what they're trying to do. They have a blinker. Put on the blinker. There's a mountain. Yes, but I turned on the blinker. I know, but you need to move around the mountain. Jerome Powell, no, we turned on the blinker. Everything's fine. Jerome, buddy, you're looking in the rearview mirror. There's a fucking mountain in front of you. Nope, we're fine. Turn on the blinker. Like, come on, bro. And that's just unfortunate. So these central planners, and this is not just the Fed. This is, by the way, the Fed is not a central bank. They don't deal in money. They're not a money dealer. They're an expectations dealer. The ECB, that's an actual central bank. The Bank of England, that's a central bank. Those are central banks. They deal in money. But whatever. So anyone that relies simply on this Phillips curve, they're going to go astray. Attempting to reduce unemployment by accepting a higher inflation has a lot of adverse long-term effects. And again, we'll touch on this a little bit, but essentially the modern view is that most modern economists believe that while there might be some short-run trade-offs between inflation and unemployment, it doesn't exist in the long run, and there's no statistical balance. It's not the same as the bond the bond price and the yield on government debt, where it's very clear there's an inverse proportionate relationship. Here it is, the economy's natural rate of unemployment is determined by a bunch of structural factors that are completely unrelated to inflation. I mean, like as a quick example, if the Saudis decide to put a chokehold on the price of oil, which they did over the summer, and the price of oil went up, that's not inflation, right? Yes, does it touch our pocketbooks? Of course, but that's not inflation. Inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon, okay? So when you oversimplify things, they should be as simple as possible, but no simpler. When you try to reduce thinking to a simple line and you have two inputs and there's 100,000 inputs, you are a failed manager of money, you're a failed fiduciary, you're a failed central planner. And unfortunately, that's what we've got, a bunch of them. And they're all rich. And what do rich people care about? Nothing, because they're rich. So like, you got to keep that in the back of your mind. Like Jerome Powell, if people are unemployed, it doesn't affect him. If people lose their jobs, it doesn't affect him. Did you know, like with every 1% added unemployment, this another, I think it's 80,000 people commit suicide. Another point, another 80,000 suicides. Another point, another 80,000 suicides. Does Jerome Powell give a shit about any of that? Of course not. It's not, they anthropomorphize their whole lives. If you look out the window and all you see are Ferraris and BMWs and Lamborghinis, that's the world that you live in. You just don't know of any other world. So, God. Anyway, the Phillips Curve, while an interesting tool in the economist toolkit, certainly interesting to look at, it is incredibly limited. During the 70s, it got completely embarrassed. It's been embarrassed for the last 60 almost years, 50-ish years. Relying on it is incredibly dangerous, which, especially this singular economic model that the Fed uses and that unfortunately, other central planners use. This is why they are almost always wrong. And what they do is they wait and wait, things crash and collapse. And later on they go, we did it. Like, what do you mean we did it? We didn't do anything. You guys said a bunch of crap, and 6 years later, things solved themselves. Why? Because participants in the market like us did it. You didn't do shit. Anyway, you got to be pretty critical and look at other theories, other economic indicators, and just, I guess I'll reduce it to this. Simplistic assumptions, historical failures, ignoring expectations, and the danger of over-reliance, unintended consequences. Okay, let's bang through that, and then we'll have a lot of brain goo to think about. So again, real quick, the Phillips curve posits that there's a straightforward, just like the little chart here, inverse relationship between inflation and unemployment. When one goes up, the other goes down. So while this might seem tempting to rely on, you will steer your economic plane into a damn mountain, right? And this is because of your simplistic assumptions. So I guess probably the most significant criticism of the original Phillips curve as a policy tool is it's too simple to factor all of the stuff that we live with. Economies are complex systems. We have domestic and international economies that are all intermingling. Managing an economy based on a single observed relationship from historical data, backwards facing, is kind of, again, flying the plane using a blinker, or like navigating a ship using one star. You're like, go towards the star. Like, but wait, from any direction you're going towards the star. Yes. Okay, but that means we could all be heading for collision course. Follow the star. Okay, God. All right. Anyway, in the 70s, like as an example, policymakers believing in the trade-off presented by the Phillips curve they had tried to combat rising unemployment with these expansionary policies, and they expected inflation to be the only trade-off. Instead, a bunch of economies entered that stagflation we talked about, with both high inflation and high unemployment. Shit is expensive and no one's working. Hey, that sounds great. I think everything's awesome. No, man, it's not awesome. And God, the Fed used to be a joke. Like, just until recently, until they reinvented what happened in the 70s and 80s, the Volcker myth. It's a myth. Volcker didn't do shit. He did a little bit of everything, and later on, they just changed the past to make it look like he knew what he was doing. He even said at the time, we're doing everything. We don't know. We don't know. It wasn't Volcker that said he tackled, inflation and unemployment. It was everyone else that said that. Anyway, ignoring expectations. One of the kind of core critiques of the Phillips curve is that it does not account for inflationary expectations. This is why Milton Friedman and such came up with kind of a more expectation model where there's more human participation. So if people expect higher inflation, now this too is a little bit suspect. It doesn't quite work this way, but the theory goes, and this is the wage price spiral. And the idea is if people expect higher inflation, they're going to demand higher wages. Now that makes sense at some level. If you're like, cost of living is gonna go up, I need more money. But it's actually in the reverse. It's that you see the damage to your balance sheet and then you realize, God, I gotta make more money. It isn't that if you think inflation is coming, you go out and ask for more money. So it's kind of the cart chasing the whatever. Anyway, but the idea is that this creates a self-perpetuating cycle, and that this phenomenon can decouple from the assumed relationship between inflation and unemployment. And again, these are still assumption-based models that don't take into account all of the things, the monetary inputs that have nothing to do with us as actual participants in the system, right? There are a lot of inputs that we have zero participation in. At some point, things get so expensive, you quit buying. At some point, they get so cheap that you start buying. Everything else is heavily influenced by a variety of factors that we participate in and that we have nothing to participate in, like that we have no control over. Anyway, so when you steer an economy, again, these very complex economies with all these working parts and gears, right? And you're trying to oversimplify to reduce everything, like Jerome Powell does and Janet Yellen, to inflation and unemployment. You're over-relying on a very simple, like a critically simple and almost negligent Phillips curve idea. And you basically are forgetting about productivity, technological advancements, global trade dynamics, fiscal policies, war, chaos, flooding, like mass casualty, like you're just ignoring everything. And the unintended consequences is when you manage an economy based on inflation and unemployment only, which have been statistically, probabilistically, and in every other fact-based, empirically proven stupid, it can lead to sometimes short-term gains, mostly at the expense of stability in the economy, and especially at the expense of long-term stability. So, for instance, when you artificially stimulate the economy, say, I don't know, in 2021, like 2020, 2021, COVID time, when you just give people money to sit at home on the couch, for instance, it might, for a while, reduce unemployment, but it could lead to, say, asset bubbles, excessive public debt, a bunch of problems, the financialization of assets, a bunch of money ending up in places where it shouldn't, a lot of corruption, greed, graft, crime, like, oh yeah, that's right, like all the stuff that happened. Yes, so there's like all sorts of unintended consequences that are pretty easy in your mind to flush out. They just choose not to do it because, again, they rich. And I know it sounds bad to reduce it to that, but it kind of is, unfortunately, that simple. So, in conclusion, while the idea of the Phillips curve may provide some cool little insights and occasionally have a relationship to the economy, the relationship between inflation and unemployment is dubious. It's not a one size fits all with two levers that you can manage the entire economy. So relying on its original assumptions to manage a very complex economy that is interwoven with the global economy is not just simplistic, it's just stupid. It is stupid. And it's crucial for not only policymakers, but like us to recognize this, especially as private investors and participants in this system, and realize that it doesn't matter what the truth of a thing is. We have to look at what these idiots are doing and we have to behave accordingly. Like, we have to do what's best for us based on incorporating a bunch of diverse economic theories, keep learning, empirical data, evidence, and that's kind of the only way you're going to have a sustainable, balanced portfolio and your own personal economic growth. As far as the world doing what it's supposed to do, these different countries managing themselves appropriately, it's probably not going to happen until humans back off and cede some of this authority to probably to AI, but at least to a new, perhaps younger, less classically trained group of economists, which, you know, I mean, usually you get a room full of economists. It's a bunch of people that have never done it in the real world, right? Like those who can do, those who can't teach, those who can't teach economics, and those who can't teach economics teach PE at the high school level. So anyway, don't fall into this kind of, don't fall into this trap of oversimplifying. There's a lot of information. That's why some people are really, really good at investing and some people are kind of okay. On the other side of it, this is all skill. And it's not talent. You're not a talented economics genius. You're not a talented investor. There's really no place for talent in investing. Okay. It's not like a muscle memory type of a skill set where you can just be, Messi is very talented at soccer. He also has a lot of good skills, but you can't take someone and make them Messi. You can just make them good at the game of be brilliant at the basics. So I would urge all of you in investing, you can catch anyone. There's no one so far ahead that you can't catch them until the robots come. And in which case this will all change. But for now, for the next few years, you can catch anyone because it's skills. It's all based on skills. And anybody here can acquire those skills. Just go out and do the work. So if you find yourself asking someone else, hey, what should I do? No. The question should not be, what should I do? It should be, why should I do this or that? Why are you doing this? Not what. What are you buying? No. Why are you buying that? Why are you selling that? Why do you see that? The why is what's going to make you guys a lot of currency units and a lot of multiples, not the what. Stay away from the what. But anyway, final day, treat or treat. Woo woo. Stay in school. Don't do drugs. Brandon and I will see you tomorrow. And we will, there's all sorts of fun stuff coming. Anyway, don't do anything my poor insolvent drunk strung on a meth grandmother wouldn't do. As you know, that's very little. And I bid you a pew pew.
If you're an accredited investor and you want in on angel, seed round or early round equity and token opportunities in the artificial intelligence and cryptocurrency space, schedule an interview at nickblacknext.com. In life, you can either be really good, really lucky, or just be first. Being first is so much easier. Schedule a digital private client interview today at nickblacknext.com.